Is Booker the biggest reason Phoenix was able to even this series?
Well, listen, I got to tell you, the biggest reason is sensational, as the light-skinned Mamba was. And that's what I call him right now, the light-skinned Mamba, because this brother is something special. Devin Booker is the real deal. This brother's something special. I got to give him a lot of love. I don't know any superlatives. I don't know what kind of demonstrative delivery or presentation I can give to give this brother his props. He deserves it. My God, he is something special. He really, really is. However, he's not the biggest reason the Suns have tied this series. The biggest reason is Chris Paul. He's not played. That's the biggest reason. Because if he were playing, chances are the pace would have been slower and Monty Williams would not have used his bench. And that would not, and Booker's heroics, along with Kevin Durant, would not have been enough. The fact of the matter is they came into Game 3, the Phoenix Suns. Their bench was the worst of any team in the postseason, averaging just over 14 points a game as an entire bench. There were 50-plus players that were averaging more as individuals than Phoenix's bench, for crying out loud. But they outscored them 22-20 in Game 3. And then you saw what Shamet did with his 19 points off the bench. You saw what Ross did. And as a result, the quickening of the pace led by Cameron Payne, along with contributions from Warren, from Shamet and others, off the bench, that has led to it. Now, does that mean that this team is better without CP3? Look, y'all, I'm not about to be drug tested. We're talking about the point guard himself, CP3. We know how elite he is. I'm saying if he had never gotten hurt, I don't think that Monty Williams would have made the decision to play his bench the way that he has. The fact that he has, I think, has gone a long way. It's quickened the pace. It's elevated their level of play. It's given Devin Booker and KD the support they need, and that's why this series is tied 2-2.
I'm thinking about that. I hadn't considered that, Stephen A. I don't know. What I do know is that Devin Booker is having a Jordan-esque, LeBron-esque playoff run. And I thought about that before I said it. The statistics that he's putting up are out of this world. His delivery and his shooting is as good. I'm being very careful here when I say this. His shooting right now, his jump shooting, is the best run we have ever seen in the playoffs. Now, doing it in the first two rounds isn't the same as doing it in the last two rounds, which is where Jordan and LeBron made their names. I can't tell you how brilliant he has been. I was at the first round series with the Clippers, and he was doing it every night in that series, averaged 37 on 60% shooting. He has been better in this series. And the thing is, he's been playing point guard the last two games. He had 36 points last night, which frankly dragged his average slightly down, but he had 12 assists. In the last two games, these middle two games here, he has had 20 assists. And so I'm going to give some thought to what you just said about Chris Paul and Monty Williams. And I know that Monty has been searching a little bit, and he's been under a little bit of pressure to try to figure out a formula that gets that bench active. But none of that is going to matter unless Booker isn't playing on another level right now. And frankly, Durant hadn't even been that good until last night. Last night he had a good game. That was the first Kevin Durant game that we've seen. And so Booker isn't just making up for the loss of Chris Paul. He's been kind of holding Kevin Durant up a little bit until he came into his own too.
Well, Stephen A., let me help Wendy out with this, okay? With all due respect to Steph Curry, with all due respect to Jokic, with all due respect to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, James Harden, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker has been and is the best player in the playoffs. Okay, when you talk about getting buckets at a high level, when you're talking about dominating a game the way that he's been doing, let me throw this at you. Right now, D-Book is number one in transition points, number one in points on drives, number one in points on pull-ups in mid-range, #1 in isolation points, and he's shooting 61% from the field for the entire postseason. And let's not account on what he's doing, taking on the challenge on the other end. I haven't seen a player have a run offensively and be this efficient ever. And I was born in 1984. I haven't seen a guy that has ran through guys like this offensively and put on the offensive display like he's doing ever in my life. And that's not disrespecting any greats. And even in their losses, he's putting on the show. So one thing I want to do, first thing first, is apologize to you, Stephen A., because I know you took a lot of heat, and I've given you a lot of heat when you said Devin Booker is Kobe Bryant, basically. He's a younger version of Kobe. And if anybody disagree with that, they out of their damn mind and they haven't been watching basketball. He is the sole reason why this team is why they're in the position they're in right now and tied this series up. Because Wendy just alluded to that Kevin Durant still haven't played his best basketball and haven't been consistent. He's been struggling throughout this series. He had a great game last night, but that was really his first one. Devin Booker, man, listen, has been and is the best player in these playoffs.
Devin Booker got the numbers right in front of me. The man is averaging 36.3 points, all right? 5.3 rebounds, 8.8 assists this series, 63.7% shooting from the field, 57% shooting from three, 89.5% from the free throw line. And then I went and dug up this number, Wendy. Devin Booker has 331 points so far this postseason, all right? They're the most by a player in his first 9 games of a single postseason since Michael Jordan in 1990. Since Michael Jordan in 1990. This is what we're getting from Devin Booker. And so I'm looking at it, and now here's the deal, Wendy and Perk. This is why I bring up the bench, Monty Williams, and the absence of Chris Paul. This is why I bring it up, because it's so important. Devin Booker was doing that the first 2 games of the series when they lost. But what's the difference? The difference is CP comes out, Cameron Payne comes in, fresher, younger legs, pushes the ball up the court, and Monty Williams has no choice but to do what the hell he should have been doing to begin with, and that's play your bench. You can't have Devin Booker averaging 43 minutes and Kevin Durant averaging 42 minutes at a time. By the way, Kevin Durant shoots 25% from three-point range. We know that's an aberration because we know that brother can shoot better than that. Okay, so he's struggling. But what I'm saying is the bench was low in production because they were not being played by Monty Williams. And when you see a guy like Landry Shamet, when you see a guy like T.J. Warren, when you see a guy like Terrence Ross, these are not scrubs. They can play. Right. So now we have to look at Monty Williams and say respectfully, because he's a wonderful coach and an even better human being. We got to look at him and say, what were you thinking? These are not rookies. You should have been playing them, because suddenly now Denver's on its heels. And even though they still have control of the series to some degree because they got home court advantage in Game 5 is in Denver, we all know if Denver loses Game 5, we're not going to be expecting a Game 7. We think that Phoenix is going to close them out in 6. And to watch Booker not just play, but to also ship, because times in the past, remember, Kobe had to play point at times when other dudes got hurt or were unproductive. Kobe had to play the point, and he showed you he could do that. Kobe had to accept defensive assignments, and he showed you he could do that. And you see Booker, he ain't just playing. He ain't just some quiet assassin. He in Cat's face. He looking at KD. I got you. He telling Kevin Durant, I got you. You understand? Don't even worry about it, bro. Just keep doing your thing. Give me the damn ball. Move the hell out the way, the rest of y'all. I'm that dude. This is what he's saying on the court, getting in Cat's face, talking smack to them, and then busting their living you know what. That's what Devin Booker is doing. The light-skinned Mamba has arrived in the NBA. His name is Devin Booker. You better ask somebody.
Okay, let's move on to something else that happened last night because this is a very important topic. So Nikola Jokic was assessed to tech late in the second quarter for deliberately making contact with Phoenix Suns owner Mat Ishbia during an incident courtside as Jokic was attempting to grab the basketball from Ishbia's hands to start the next play. After Josh Okogie went flying toward the courtside seats, Ishbia went to check on him while holding the basketball. Jokic went to grab the basketball quickly so the Nuggets could start their offensive possession. Here he is after the game.
The fan put a hand on me first, so I thought the league's supposed to protect us or whatever. So, but maybe I'm wrong. So we will see.
I think it's crazy that Nikola got technical foul in that situation. He's going to get the ball, and some fan is holding on to the ball like he wants to be a part of the game. Just give the ball up, man.
Do you think the fans, the owner of the Suns, made any difference?
I don't give a
All right, Wendy, I'm going to start with you on this one. Do you think there should be any further punishment for the Joker?
Okay, before we get into the serious stuff, can we just take a moment and acknowledge the ridiculousness of what happened there?
Yeah.
That the owner of the team, who has owned the team for 2.5 months or whatever, ends up with the ball in his hand and then flops. Total
Flop.
inexcusable, unexplainable flop.
He is a former basketball player.
And that flop got his team a technical, which got his team a point. Not only that, he had a reason why he was holding on the ball. He didn't want Jokic to go with it. He not only wrote the checks in that game, he demonstratively helped his team in a marginal way win. Bring me that Red Auerbach. Bring me that Jerry Buss. Bring me that Mark Cuban. Show me another time in history where an owner materially affected the game in a way like that. And I'm half joking, but I'm only half joking. That was kind of wild. As for what potentially could happen now, I know that the S word is in everybody's mouth. Like, could he possibly get suspended? I find it extraordinarily doubtful that that would happen. Now, let me tell you the official reporting. The NBA would be expected to have an interview with Jokic and possibly Ishbia today to hear their two sides of the story and then make a ruling today on what's going to happen. In talking to people last night, the expectation was this, if anything, would be a fine. I didn't hear anybody strongly advocate for suspension, even people on the Suns side of it. I think they kind of did it, but they were only doing it sort of halfway. The other thing I will say is, according to the rules that are written in the NBA rulebook, this type of situation, when it involves a player and a fan, is to be determined by the commissioner. So this isn't a stunning situation, but it is by the rules, and this would end up on Adam Silver's desk later today. I do not think this will happen. I do think it's an incredibly fascinating moment that I've never seen before in NBA history.
Of course, it would be ridiculous to suspend Jokic. It damn near would be ridiculous to fine him, even though if they fine him, I don't care. It's just a fine or whatever, but I don't think he deserves it. But I will tell you this. It's important to point this out, particularly on a platform like First Take. The NBA had damn well better not suspend Jokic. The fact of the matter is, this is the playoffs. We don't want to hear this nonsense, okay? Nothing extreme happened. He didn't go into the stands or anything like that. Let's not trip over this. Let the outcome be decided. If you were to suspend Jokic, you are taking away what I tell you, 36, 14, and 9.5 on 57% shooting and 43% shooting from three-point range. The star of the Denver Nuggets. You're taking him away for a pivotal Game 5 if you were to suspend him. And God forbid Denver loses that game. Then we're sitting there and talking about how that outcome of this playoff series was decided by the league office instead of the players. These are the things that we have to speak out against to reel this stuff in, because we've seen some extreme measures take place, albeit in a regular season at times and to some degree to the playoffs. We're forgetting the fans. We're supposed to be thinking about them, and we're forgetting about them when decisions like this are being made. Those folks in Denver and even real fans in Phoenix, they don't want to see the Suns win against a Jokic-less Denver Nuggets. They want to see this squad take them down like they did games 3 and 4. You don't want to get involved to a point where you compromise the integrity of the outcome. You don't want to do that. So the league, fall back, okay? Everything ain't your business. This is just something that happened, all right? The fans ain't tripping. The game ain't tripping. chill out, let them play. Do not suspend anybody. We need to be very reluctant in making sure that stuff like that happens, and we need to remind them of the importance of making sure these damn players are on the court to compete against one another. Unless something extraordinarily bad happens, you don't suspend them. You don't do it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.